Agriculture, Manidoo Mazina'igan. Agriculture was an important part of the Anishinaabe way of life in the 1800s. Traditional crops like Indian corn gave way to crops like potatoes and oats. Garden islands were cleared for use in growing crops for community use or sale. Farming implements, livestock, and seed were guaranteed to the Anishinaabe of Treaty Number 3. Through the 1870s, Anishinaabe farms were generally successful, especially along the Rainy River. In 1881, the Indian Act was amended, requiring buyers to have written permission from the government to buy Indigenous produce. This amendment was the ruin of Anishinaabe market gardening. In 1887, a dam was built at the north end of Lake of the Woods. The goal was to raise the water level for steamboat navigation. Garden islands were flooded and destroyed. Because Anishinaabe farmers could not make money on their farms, many stopped planting. In 1913, the province of Ontario demanded the federal government force the Anishinaabe on the Rainy River to abandon their land to make room for settlers who would farm the land. Over 43,000 acres were seized. The land claim and restitution to Rainy River First Nations was resolved in 2005. Other claims related to flooding are ongoing. The Governor and Council may make such provisions and regulations for prohibiting or regulating the sale, barter, exchange, or gift by any band or irregular band of Indians of any grain or root crops or other produce grown upon the Indian Reserve in the Northwest Territories, the province of Manitoba, or the district of Keewatin. An act to amend the Indian Act 1880 became law on March the 21st, 1881. Hunting, Kagiusewin. The right of the Anishinaabe to share in hunting and trapping in the territory was guaranteed in Treaty Number 3. Hunting and trapping for food, furs, and other materials has long been a part of Anishinaabe culture. On-reserve hunting and trapping was encouraged by the federal government for many years after the signing of the treaty. In 1933, the province of Ontario passed a law that prohibited Indigenous peoples from hunting off their reserve. This decision deprived many of food because they could not access traditional hunting areas. In recent years, it has been clarified that Treaty Number 3 members can hunt and fish for personal consumption or ceremonial use across the whole territory. The Fish and Wildlife Department of Treaty Number 3 administers a comprehensive program that monitors and awards licenses for fishing, hunting, and trapping, and ensures that wildlife is properly managed. Resource management, Manidoo. During the Treaty 3 negotiations, the chiefs brought up the issues of wood, water, and manoman, wild rice. Record of these discussions were recorded in the notes of the meetings, but the words do not appear in the final document. Northern Ontario is rich in timber and other natural resources. Anishinaabe communities were unable to get approval to harvest timber on reserves. Instead, the Department of Indian Affairs wanted outside companies to do it. By 1915, the Department of Indian Affairs was licensing communities to cut timber in lieu of relief payments. As early as 1892, Treaty Number 3 chiefs identified high water levels with the destruction of wild rice harvesting areas. The Government of Canada did permit evidence of damages to Treaty 3 reserve communities to be presented to the International Joint Commission on Lake of the Woods. Since 1997, the Anishinaabe Nation of Treaty Number 3 has operated under Manidoo Mazina'igan, or the Great Earth Law. The Great Earth Law states that the Anishinaabe Nation in Treaty 3 maintains rights to all lands and water in the territory throughout northwestern Ontario and southeastern Manitoba. Accordingly, any development in the Treaty 3 territory, including forestry, mining, hydro, highway, pipeline, and other consultation approaches, require the consent, agreement, and participation of the Anishinaabe Nation in Treaty Number 3. Ever since the dam has been put up in the river, the water keeps high, destroying the wild rice crop, which is the principal cause of our starving in wintertime. Petition letter of 11 chiefs to the Superintendent of Indian Affairs, July 18, 1892.